You ever see a man's hands shake? Not from fear, not from old age, but from pure, ice-cold calculating rage. I'm an attorney. I'm paid to not shake. I'm paid to talk. But when I saw those 3 wannabe mall cops decked out in tactical vests they clearly bought off Amazon, swarm my 78-year-old grandfather on his own porch, I froze. On the ground, old man. Hands on your head, now! This kid, maybe 25, is screaming, pointing I swear to God, a taser at my Grandpa Walt, who's just standing there, in his slippers, holding a cup of coffee. This was 6 a.m., on our own ranch, the sound that woke us up. It wasn't the screaming, it was the crash. The sound of a customized Jeep Wrangler lifted Angry Eyes Grill, just demolishing our front gate, a gate that's been standing since 1974. I ran to the kitchen window, and I watched this team pile out. Then she stepped out of the passenger seat. Carla Reinhardt. Picture this. 60 years old. Blonde hair pulled into a ponytail so tight it looked painful. $200 yoga pants and a clipboard. She was the self-appointed queen of Cypress Ridge Estates, the new gated community of beige McMansions that had popped up on the ridge, sucking the aquifer dry. Walter, she says, her voice like ice in a blender. You are in violation. We are seizing this access road for failure to comply. Grandpa Walt. He didn't even look at her. He was staring at the splintered mess of his gate. That gate, he said, his voice quiet, real quiet. That was good growth redwood. Cost me $800 in '74. The head cop, a meathead named Kyle, shoves his fake badge forward. Sir, you are trespassing on HOA property. We were trespassing on the 80 acres my family has owned since my grandpa got out of the Air Force. I finally found my voice. I stepped onto the porch. Excuse me, I said, and my lawyer voice just took over. This is the Old Oak Ranch. Our deed is recorded, it's dated 1974, and it includes a 70-year-old prescriptive easement for this road. You are the ones trespassing, and you've just committed felony property destruction. Carla didn't even look at me. She just waved her hand like she was shooing a fly. Your easement is null. We're the law here. This land, she said, gesturing to our pasture, is clogging up a $3 million view. And you're done. This wasn't about a road. This was a land grab. My hands were shaking. I dialed 911. I'm on the line with dispatch, my voice cracking, telling them there are armed men threatening my grandfather. And Grandpa Walt. He's just calm. He's an engineer. Spent 40 years in aerospace. He designed fail-safes. He doesn't panic. He calculates. He murmurs just to me. Benny, need to rig a way out of this. The dispatcher. God. Sir, we have no units available for at least 2 hours. Is it a verbal dispute? They have guns. I yelled. Sir, it sounds like a civil matter. You can file a report online. Click the system. The one I believed in just hung up on me. I looked at Walt. His jaw was tight, but his eyes were moving. They were scanning the broken gate, the Jeep, the way the men were standing. He was analyzing. Well, Benny, he said, taking a sip of his coffee. System's got a glitch. Guess we'll have to. Fail-safe it. Carla wasn't done. She pulls out a stack of papers. You have 48 hours to vacate, she shrieks, or we'll be back with real authorities and seizure papers. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say that again, Carla. She just sneered. The fake cops piled back into their Jeep, backed over the wreckage of our gate, and tore off, and so Grandpa Walt stood there, looking at the damage. This land is worth $3 million, she'd said. Benny, he said, I think it's time you learned about hydraulic pressure. We spent the next hour walking the property. Walt wasn't looking at the damage. He was looking at angles, sightlines, approach vectors. See, the thing about physics, Benny, he said, is that it doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about an HOA. It just is. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. He went into his workshop. The place smells like motor oil, ozone, and old iron. He pulled out a roll of old blueprint paper and started sketching. What is that, Walt? It's the new gate, he muttered, his pencil flying. Trigger plate here, counterweight system here, and, oh yeah, he smiled, some old plowshares. From the tractor graveyard. Plowshares? Walt, I said, this looks, it's a way out, son. Physics is the ultimate judge. And these people, they've just given us clear legal justification for a defensive upgrade. The next day, the bureaucratic war started. Carla was smarter than just brute force. Carla, she went nuclear. The developer, a guy named Sterling, was screaming at her. The fire department incident that brought federal attention, blocking emergency vehicles, interfering with mail. Suddenly, the FBI was sniffing around. The money was in jeopardy. Sterling had given Carla a $75,000 consulting fee, which, as I found out later, she'd spent on the Jeeps and the uniforms. She was cornered. She called an emergency HOA meeting. We got the audio from Mrs. Gable, a neighbor who'd finally had enough. Carla just confessed. She's on a tirade, screaming. That old man, his ranch, is the only thing stopping this from being a 5-star community. Sterling promised us. He promised that removing that eyesore would double our property values. The room, just silence. She'd just admitted, on tape, to conspiracy to commit fraud. The HOA board, they didn't just resign, they fled. The whole thing dissolved in one night. She was alone. Her husband filed for divorce. Her kids left. She was broken, and that's when she got really dangerous. A broken person with nothing to lose. We saw her on our security cameras, stalking the property line, binoculars, taking notes. Then, she broke into our mailbox. Federal crime. We got her on camera, clear as day. Grandpa Walt, he just kept working. She's decalibrating, Benny, he said. She's lost. She's gonna do something stupid. He finished the gate. It was beautiful, in a terrifying industrial way. Heavy reinforced oak beams, warning signs, everywhere. Automated security gate, do not approach at high speed. Severe damage will occur. Property owner not responsible. I checked the law. It was 100% legal under Castle Doctrine. The trigger's set, Walt said. 15 miles an hour. You approach slow like a neighbor. It opens. You approach fast, like an enemy. He just patted the main beam. Physics takes over. Then, the threat. She posted it on the neighborhood app, a long, rambling manifesto about how she was the victim, and how, I will remove this illegal barrier myself. I will drive my Jeep right through his precious gate. Walt, just, well, he said, she's given us written notice of her intent. How considerate. She modified her Jeep. We watched her on the cameras welding badly, welding steel plates to the front of her Wrangler. It was pathetic. She was building a battering ram. The final morning. It was surreal. It wasn't just us. The whole neighborhood was out. Mrs. Gable, with her iPhone live streaming. Maybe 50 people, all standing at a safe distance. It was like a public execution. We heard her engine, long before we saw her, grinding. She'd messed up the transmission with her upgrades. Then she came around the bend. That poor Jeep. Smoke pouring from it, steel plates rattling. And she was flooring it. Walt and I, we just stood on the porch, coffee in hand. Radars got her at 32 miles an hour, Walt murmured. She hit the pressure plate. There was no boom. Just a sound like a giant switch. A hiss of the hydraulics. A thunk as the trigger released the counterweights. And then, whump, the 400-pound oak beam, the one lined with sharpened, case-hardened plowshares, didn't just stop the Jeep. It dropped it, bit into the Jeep, the shears, Walt's masterpiece. They punched through the hood, through the amateur steel plating, through the engine block. The Jeep just died. Instantly, pinned to the earth. Silence. Then, honk. The horn was stuck. She was trapped. The steering wheel crushed against her. 50 cell phones, all recording Grandpa Walt. He took a sip of his coffee. He walked slowly, down the porch steps. He walked right up to the steaming, hissing, impaled Jeep. He looked right at Carla, who was white as a sheet, screaming, "Trapped, ma'am," he said, his voice just calm. "You appear to have exceeded the operational load limit. Physics, you know. The feds, they showed up. The real ones. The fire truck incident, the mail theft, the HOA fraud. They'd been building a RICO case. And the fire department had to use the jaws of life to cut her out of her own Jeep so they could arrest her. She got 3 years, federal, conspiracy, mail fraud, domestic terrorism. They threw the book at her. Sterling, the developer? He's still in court. He's not gonna win. We won. The ranch is safe. The gate, it's still there. It's a local landmark. Engineering students from Cal Poly come to study it. Grandpa, he patented the design. He He made more money off Henderson Smart Security than he ever did at the Air Force. It should be a happy ending, right? Here's the part that sticks with me. We beat Carla. We beat the developer. But the county, they saw the whole mess. The fire truck, the access road dispute, and they eminent domained a 20-foot strip of our land. Right along the fence line, they're building a new public access road to the state park. We won the war. But the system, it still got a piece. So here's my question. What is justice? Is it winning? Is it getting the bad guy? Or is it just losing less? Let me know what you think in the comments. And tell me, when the system fails, what's your rigged way out?